One, two, three. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of True Crime and Cocktails. We're so glad that you're here. As always, I am your host, Lauren Ash, and as always, I am joined by my co-hostess with the mostess, Christy Oxborrow. How you feeling?
Um, I feel like a different woman than I was last week.
Okay. Care
hmm
to elaborate?
Well, I mean, previously on True Crime and Cocktails, um, we talked about that little program, that little sports show
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
all the rage.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, I've seen it. I think you'd seen it twice by that point.
I had.
And I was like, I have not seen it. I know nothing about it but the bare bone. That's
Not.
that's not what I meant, but not what I meant. Um, I barely knew anything about it, and I was like, oh, we'll see. And I was like, maybe tomorrow I'll binge the whole thing. I did. I
And
did. Um, I'm gonna say to you and the dear people listening what I said to friend of the podcast, Erin Conway, when she reached out to me and went, please watch it. I said, I have officially seen it. I've knocked. I've had the tuna melt. I've been to the cottage. And what I love is
that's incredible.
and you had talked about how I think she'd seen it like four times or something. She's now seen it at least six
Yep.
since her and I have last chatted about it. Because
Yep.
she's like, I've seen it this many times. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I've also purchased merch. So there we go. And I've read one of the books from the series, and I have another three of them coming. So
I
yeah.
could not love this more. Again, obviously, lots of people have been reaching out to me saying, "Oh, I can't wait to hear Blanche's thoughts on Heated Rivalry,"
Of
all of the
course.
above. Now, we did tease that we were going to record a Patreon episode about it. If you notice, I might sound a little bit different than normal. I woke up with laryngitis this past week, and so I had no voice. It's slowly coming back, but we haven't been able to record that episode yet because this is
Yeah.
my first time talking in days, basically. Um, and so I'm also excited though because we're going to record it over the weekend,
hmm
and I'm going to be able to view it again because I did. I mean, I have seen it all basically three times now.
Mm.
I'm ready for my fourth. And what
hmm
I also love is that on Patreon, of course, I put out a message as of course, that so sorry, but I legitimately couldn't record because I had no voice. And people were literally there was some of our patrons, bless, were like, great, this means I can watch it again before I listen to the episodes.
hmm
I just love that people are so it's a cultural phenomenon, and I think it's
It
such a
is.
great one. It's such a wonderful, like, it's great for Canada. I think it's a great,
Yes.
you know, story. Like, a lot of people in the LGBTQIA plus community that I know have been saying that it's nice to watch a story that's not about trauma.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a love story, and I think that is so beautiful. And I think it's so nice
Yes.
that so many people have just fully embraced it. Have I bought merch also? Yes.
Of course.
Yes, it arrived. I love it. And I immediately was like, not enough.
hmm hmm
Not enough.
It's just, and I know we're not getting into it here. We're really gonna get into it
Yes.
there.
Yes.
But I just want to say I've seen so many things online where it's just like people seem like so shocked that so many straight women are so into it.
Hmm.
And then I've also seen so many responses to that where it's like, well, it's just because it's hot dudes. And I'm like, number one, are they specimens? Absolutely. Nobody's doubting that.
Without a doubt.
But number two, and this is my final thought, so I don't know why I felt the need to number them. At the heart of it, it is romance. It is the deepest fucking love. Like, for example, the other night, did my husband make the tiny mistake as we were going to bed and make a comment about heated rivalry? And I was like, I just said, like, I don't understand why so many people are like, oh my God, why do straight women love it? Um, and I had heard one opinion that was maybe it's because if a straight woman is watching a man and a woman on screen, she only feels she can identify with the woman, whereas when she's watching two men together, she could identify with either of them. It doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other. And my husband was like, "Oh, that's actually really an interesting idea." And I was like, "Yeah, you know what I think?" And then bless that man, he let me prattle on for a good 30 to 45 minutes. At one point, I took a break and went, "Is this too much?" And he went, "No." And I kept going about, I gave him deep, deep examples of the love that is in this show. And not just like between them, between the people, like the romantic love, but I was like, I want to talk about his
Yeah.
mom
Yeah.
and the full hockey woman that she is, understanding, like asking the simple question of like, would you really leave your team for him? And the response of like, yeah. And I was like, she gets it. She's asking the questions the hockey person would ask. And so I really connect with her and I love her about that. But yeah, I prattled on just about their love because it's so beautiful to watch. It's just from the moment they meet, they're like, yep, I have an
Well,
interest. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh no,
yeah.
too late for me. Like, yeah.
I also think it's interesting because I did see there was a gay guy's take, which was like,
Mm,
this isn't a realistic depiction of a
mm,
homosexual relationship.
mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I would say in response to that is, have you watched a heterosexual romance story? Do you believe
That's
that
what it is?
that's what it really is? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna hold your hand when I tell you this. The
Mm-hmm.
love stories we see depicted, don't exist. That's not. I wouldn't call that. I
Mm,
wouldn't call the heterosexual relationship experience the Notebook. I wouldn't call, you know what I mean? Like it's like
mm.
that doesn't happen. And then of course you can hear people will be like, it does, blah blah blah. But I think that that's true across any sexual orientation and
Sure,
couplings. Of course there's going to be exceptions where these real life it's like a book. It's like a romance novel. Yeah.
sure.
You hear about those because they're rare. The rest of the time, I mean, I can speak as someone who's not in a relationship currently, but I've been in many, and I wouldn't depict any of those relationships as being something that I would have seen depicted in a film. In fact, if anything, I would say most of them are very similar, which is couch, grunting, farts, moment of lightness, something tense, um, and repeat. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know that again, it's like we're all living Gone with the Wind. I've never even seen Gone with the Wind. I don't know if that was, please forgive me if
I
that's a
don't know if
problematic
I don't think
reference.
they were boning in Gone with the Wind.
Well, I wish they were.
And maybe the fact that they weren't proves it is a real love story, a real hetero modern love story. Um, so many things. One, why do I keep numbering them? I don't know. Just so you know, they're separate thoughts. Unnecessary. One, how did you get the promo in the first 10 minutes of the episode? I don't know. I don't know. Also, it feels like we've been talking about this for 3 hours and it's not even 10 minutes into
Nope.
the episode. Probably
Nope.
because we did discuss it a bit in the dick around.
Yeah.
Um, also, yeah, like I can't remember a movie or like a TV show that I remember watching a couple doing things where I'm like, yep, that's exactly it. I don't. I really don't. And so it's like, also at the end of the day, isn't it okay that it's just like art to watch? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be realism. Can't we just let this
No.
happen?
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And I think in a time where
Mhm.
realism, the reality of the world is
Not ideal. Yeah.
as challenging as ever, I think turning on our gay hockey boyfriends and watching it for the fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th, 12th doesn't
Hmm.
matter. If it's
Hmm.
if it's helping you get through and it's
Hmm.
again a piece of art, that makes you feel something. Isn't that what life is about? I
Yeah.
think that's it.
Again, I spent that day making so many notes as I went. And then I timed it so perfectly that day to watch it, and I got it watched. And then I ended up with some favorite scenes that I have gone back and watched just those scenes over and over again. One of which I have 3 pages typed about that scene alone, and that scene is less than 2 minutes. So I hope the patrons are ready because now that I have another day or so, there's probably going to be more typed pages. The only thing I'm going to say is I want to brag about my timing of how I did this because I made a little post-it to remind me of it.
Also, very quickly, I'm so sorry. That's
Yeah.
the biggest post-it I've ever seen in my
Oh
life.
yeah, these are my little note post-its. These are perfect. I love
That's like a
these.
5x7, folks, for those who are, or a
Well,
four
I
by
mean, it's
six,
like a
four by
4x6.
six,
Yeah, yeah,
four
yeah.
by six.
Well, these I Googled. I was like, how big can I get these things? But I also don't want it too big. But this is the perfect size. I make my daily to-do list on it, and then I've just got them all over the place, and they're easy peasy. But I needed it because I wrote a lot.
Okay.
Um, so I did school drop off
Hmm.
in the morning. Got home, couch. Episode 1 to 4. It ended at 11:55 a.m. My husband and I lunch at 12. Episode 5 ended exactly at 2 p.m. I have to leave the house at 2 p.m. to go to school pickup. Drop the child off at the activity, come home. Who knows how much time I'm given. Some days he he just texts me when he's done. So some days I get like 45 minutes, some days it's 55, like it could be all over the place. So I drop him off home, immediately the couch. The second they start driving down the road, I get a text he needs a ride. It was everything worked out perfectly. And then I've seen some scenes multiple times. I have favorites. I can't wait to talk about them. I'm excited to deeply, deeply type more notes about other scenes that I'm really excited about.
This is the joke, is that we came
Hmm.
into the pre-record, which we like to call the dick around for those
Yeah.
who are new. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but like my voice, it's just not fully there. And I'm worried about doing the full episode and then doing the last call. Like the deadline for this episode is prior. I'm giving you too much backstory, but the whole point is that I came in feeling like, oh God, like I'm messing with the schedule, I'm messing with the timing, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And then immediately Christy was like, this is great. It'll give me more time to flesh out these notes, which which again is just so charming because again, like she's just said, she has 3 pages written about 1 2 minute scene. I cannot wait. And I also just want to
Yeah.
say very quickly,
Mhm.
I want people to know this, it wasn't intending to be a hardcore sales pitch for our Patreon. However, I think if there's people who've been
Mm-hmm.
on the fence, if you're into heated rivalry, this may be the time to sign up.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, I mean, you said it yourself. It's a cultural phenomenon. It's taken
Yeah.
over things. It's so beautifully done. And
Oh,
my
it's so well shot.
only
Yeah.
request, because it's happened to me before, my only request is that season 2 be exactly the same.
I
Hit
know.
hit the
I
notes,
know.
have the same sort of lighting, have the same sort of editing that you have the exact same type of music, not the same songs, but like have pick the exactly do whatever you did first and just do it again because you did it to me before, Twilight, and you know it. That first Twilight movie, I was in. I liked it. It was dark. They had a small budget. It was a little bit gritty. I was in. And then it like hits the screens and goes fucking nuts and they're like, "Oh, this is making money. Here's some extra money for that second one." Suddenly, it's the brightest movie you've ever seen. Wolves are jumping, cameras are falling over, and we're leaving it. It's just I can't do this again.
Folks, Christy went through a bit of a trauma in the Twilight era that apparently is still
Ah,
just hovering below the surface for her at all times. And
I don't even know if I'd say just below. Like, I got so upset at how it went to me. I mean, I love that first one. And then that's the second one just it changes so hard. And I'm pretty sure they had a different director in between. It doesn't matter. It just changed so much that I got upset to the point where then I was like, what am I even doing? And then, I mean, some of it gets like a little jump the shark. So you're like, why am I watching this? To the point where you get to what, the fourth one or something like that, and you only watch it to watch the honeymoon scene where he snaps the headboard in half. Yeah.
this has been Christy and Lauren discuss movies.
Christy and
This has
Lauren
been
on romance. Yeah.
true film and chuckleheads.
Oh, that'd be a gift.
I know,
That'd be a real gift.
I know. But yeah, anyway, bottom line is if you're interested, the Patreon episodes are, I'm so sorry for the delay.
Hmm.
It'll be up as soon as possible. Again, I'm just trying to protect this voice as much as I can because I've got a UK tour coming up, folks, in
Of course.
6.5 weeks.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
The other thing I have to reference um, is if you follow me on TikTok, I've just in the calendar year of a 2026,
Mm-hmm.
I have started a new hobby, which is a hobby I've dabbled with before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, it's Christie's main hobby, but it's unboxing. And
Mm-hmm.
I have gone so off the deep end.
Mm.
Um, I think I've had 8 or 9 parts of my unboxing in bed series that I've posted so far. I want you to know I've already filmed up to 14.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know fully how to explain what I'm doing or why.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think I need to.
No.
Earlier today, one of my items came in the mail, and I was going to unbox it on camera, but I thought, this one's just for me. I know how ludicrous this sounds. And I opened that, and I was filled with a wave of, I don't even know how to describe it, like jubilation, true joy. I love this thing that's sitting over there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this moment, and this is what I wanted to talk. This is all precursor to what I wanted to say. I've been spending a lot of time and money on the internet collecting different things, and I've honed
Mm-hmm.
in. And it's this one character called Yuki, and there's all different sizes, there's all different collections, just like there are with all kinds of like the baby
Mm-hmm.
threes or the May Mays or the, I'm speaking another language now. I understand that I'm knee deep in a community I wasn't in 2 weeks ago. I get it. But anyway, for me, it's Yuki's.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a bunch of them out, and some of them are big, 13 inches big. And I
Okay.
had a man come to the house to do some work on my HVAC unit.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this moment when he came in where I was filled with embarrassment because I was like,
Oh.
oh God, like, there's this pile of stuffed toys. What is he going to think? And then what was amazing was I thought, I hope he thinks he can fuck himself because who cares what I have in my home? The other thing I realized was, I bet you this guy hasn't even paid attention. Much like I've been
Oh.
describing earlier, heterosexual love stories. I don't know, and I shouldn't assume this man's sexuality. I think it's safe to say, but I shouldn't assume. But let's just put it this way. I don't know a lot of straight guys that are walking into a room and noticing anything. I mean, you can literally
Mm.
change your hair color and sometimes they won't notice. So my point is, I felt this very interesting experience where it went from embarrassment to truly not giving a fuck.
Oh, that's delicious. That's
And
jubilant all over again.
that's exactly it. Then I was like, that's why I collect. I've been doing it for just over a week. I've only been into the Yukis for just over a week, and I'm already making bold statements like, this is why I collect. I'm a collector now. I collect.
Okay, first of
What
all,
a
any of those
nightmare.
statements that you've just said, I'm gonna start asking for merch. I'm a collector now. I just collect like any of the statements you've said in the last solid 30 seconds. Yes.
I collect.
Yes. Yes. It gives you joy. Why the hell not? And good for you. Because yes, my instinct is always like, ooh, I'm a bit embarrassed.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna see that and be like, oh God, I could grab any number of things that are on this desk in front of me and be like, why do you have this?
Mm-hmm.
Because it brings me joy.
Mm-hmm.
Because it brings me joy. I also feel the same if I happen to be outdoors and I'm in an indoor pant, aka more like a pajama pant.
Mm-hmm.
That's very clearly a pajama pant. Like I'm wearing ones right now that have Lightning McQueen on them. It's very hard to think that these are meant for outdoors. They're not. I would be embarrassed to go out and have someone see me and I'd be like, they're thinking like, I can't believe she's wearing that in public. But I'm just like, who cares?
But wouldn't
I'm dressed
isn't
and
it also
comfortable.
possible someone could look at you wearing those and going, God, I wish I was brave enough to wear those in public.
I'm I'm gonna say it. I went to the grocery store like 2, 3 weeks ago and I was in a comfortable indoor pant. And then before I went out, I got nervous and I went, fine. And I changed into a slightly less comfortable, appropriate outdoor pant. Fine. Going around the aisles, and I run into a lady, not physically, we just pass each other. And she was in the brightest, loudest indoor pant I'd ever seen. And the first thing that goes in my head was, I wish I had done the same.
There it is.
And then I did like a good for her, kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, because we gotta stop caring what people think about us and
Yeah.
who cares?
Who
Like if
cares?
someone looks at, because I've been saying for years, the only reason I've ever gone out in an indoor pant, and I know I really have to stop calling them that, but anytime I've ever gone out in them, it's only been within the last like couple of years because I'm always too scared and I'm like, I gotta put on a pant people find appropriate. I'm not naked,
Yeah.
so it's appropriate. I'm dressed, it's fine. But I just had this moment out of nowhere where I was like, wait a minute, why do I care? I'm not going out on the prowl. Like I'm not looking for a man. And even if I was, if he doesn't like it, it's your loss, buddy. But the point is, I don't know what this energy is. But the point is, I got to this moment where I was like, I'm already happily married. Like I don't care what a male outside my home might go like, oh, no thanks. And it's like, and you think I want a piece of that? I don't know who this man is that I'm
I don't
envisioning
either,
is
but
upset
I
with
hate
me.
him.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, if I think the guy I'm envisioning is somebody that when I was like 20, I would have drunkenly asked somebody to key the guy's car.
Yeah,
I only asked once. We never did it.
I get it. But listen, this brings me up to my final point I was going to make. It dovetails perfectly, which is, in the moments today when I found myself looking at this repairman in the face, maybe there was a vibe. It doesn't matter. Maybe I'm projecting that. Whatever. I just had this thought where I was like, I should be so embarrassed. Then I thought I should give a fuck because then I thought this is too much. I'm already going to preface it. This is too much.
I can't wait.
You've already kind of touched on it, but what I was going to say was, do I really believe that if I said to this man, hey, wanna fuck? He'd be like, I can't. You have stuffed animals in the house. like, like, no. Like, to your
No.
point, like, also, do you think that this asshole, because this guy you're talking about in your fantasy is an asshole, but if you were to
Oh, yeah.
say,
This guy that
hey,
doesn't exist? Yeah.
The guy that doesn't exist. But let's say you were single and you were out in pajama pants, saw this guy and said, "Hey, wanna fuck?" Do you really think he'd say no based on the fact that you were wearing pajama pants? If anything, he'd be like, "Easy access." You know what I mean? Like, I
Depends
just,
on how I walked up to him. Because when I have a swagger, I'm all right, you know? This is late night unhinged for us. This is
it
next
really
level.
is. It's not even
Yeah.
that late.
It's not.
Not even that late. I
It's
think it's
not,
because I
but
haven't been talking for days and now I'm
mm,
talking and I'm like, oh, you know
mhm.
what I mean? I'm saying too much.
I like that.
Anyway, I wasn't going to make a move on the HVAC guy, to be clear. I hope he's not listening. I mean, how would he? How would he?
Oh God, I kind of hope he does.
It's like, I'll let him know I'm interested. But he has to be okay with the
Yeah.
stuffed toys.
I'm gonna say something that you had touched on at the beginning of that.
Uh-huh.
As someone who lives with four males,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they notice shit.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of haircuts
Mm.
I've had, and when I say haircuts, I'm the lady. Well, sometimes depend how I walk.
Well,
Okay,
again,
stop it.
when she has a swagger, she's aight.
I uh there when I get a haircut, I tend to like forget to go, even though I complain and then I run out of time. So when I get a haircut, I'm cutting like 6+ inches off this bitch. So it is a noticeable haircut. I'm not getting a tiny trim. I'm very noticeably chopping off like half of my hair. And I've had them look me dead in the eye and just be like, hey, we got any goldfish? And it's like, yeah, yeah. I've also had like recently, and I apologize to my husband for calling him out on this. Recently, he was like, hey, I thought we had that chocolate syrup. I went, yeah, it's in the pantry on the third shelf. No, it's not. Oh, it is. No, it's not here. It is the third shelf over on the left. No, it's not. I walked over and went, this? Like, I just immediately, I was like, this? And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, I just forgot what color it was. And I was like, there it is. So he's not going to see the stuffies.
No,
Do you call them
no.
stuffies? Do you call them plush? What are you, plushies?
I've always called them stuffed animals. That
Oh,
full,
they
very
get,
dignified term, stuffed animals. But I think
hmm
my runner-up would be stuffies.
sure.
Yeah.
I only ask because my son, one of them, um, got a plushie from his great aunt for Christmas. Um, she sent basically she gives me money and then has me go buy something that I know he would like, and he opens it, has a tag from her. And when we send her a video of him opening it, and he made a comment that it was, I can't remember if I think he said a stuffy, and her response to the email was, "What's a stuffy?" Because she was just like, I have never heard that. And I was just like, oh, yeah, we just call them stuffies around here.
Yeah.
I think I've always just kind of called them plush, but yeah, I don't know where stuffies came from, but
The
that's
stuffed
just,
toys are stuffed animals. Yeah.
yeah, stuffies is just what they've always been to us.
Well, and for me, they've been the thing that lives the hardest in my heart. Um, last thing I'll say about Christy and I's uh unboxing connection is that what we
Hmm.
realized
Hmm.
was Christy has likes the little hard figures.
I do. Yeah,
I like a stuffy.
you do.
I do. And we both obviously there's exceptions on both sides, but I'm just saying predominantly that we've chosen our own lanes. Um, and I had talked in some of my early videos about like, well, cross this off the list. What list? Because it was like I don't like what are we talking about? And some people have commented on my that obviously you're familiar with the podcast about how Christy would have this list or whatever. And I just
Mhm.
want everyone to know I I messaged Christy the other day, and I haven't said this publicly yet, and this is huge news. But I
Mhm.
messaged Christy the other day, and I was like, I just need you to know, I made my first list,
Yeah.
and It's the collections that I'm collecting, the
Yeah.
ones that I have, the ones that I need. And then there's a
Yes.
list that's just simply entitled things I'm interested in.
Yeah. Hmm.
And they're usually collections that I haven't seen yet. And I want
Oh,
you to know
sure.
that I've almost cleared off that entire list because I really fell in love with the Yukis. And so I've been buying a
Of
lot of those.
course.
And then I was like, I don't need to start another one. The Lucky Dear Nays, they've fallen the wayside. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
The the is it Happy Emma? Lucky Emma? Oh, I was trying to make a bit. I was trying to give you all these real names that would mean nothing to you and sound crazy, but
Hmm. Could not be happier when there's a list. I warn you, once you start a list,
I know.
it's going to turn into there's a spreadsheet. Suddenly, there's color coding to it that's only in your mind because there's not a legend anywhere that tells anybody anything, but it's in here. And I've adopted a color scheme for certain things that I use on spreadsheets that I've now adopted for other things. So this color scheme is like I have a very specific, like, this is the color I use when I'm highlighting something that I've purchased, but it hasn't arrived yet.
Oh,
This is so I highlight it like a blue color. And then I highlight it yellow once it's arrived in my home. So then when I can look at it, I'm like, I know I have that. And then when I'm doing a spreadsheet that's like gifts I'm purchasing, I highlight the person's name green once I've completed purchasing their gifts.
I think the statement there's a color coding system in my mind just makes me wonder like is everybody on the spectrum a little bit like I
Oh, I'm not like I'm not what anyone would call normal. And
oh,
I've known that. I mean, my OCD over the years has told me that.
sure.
But yeah, I find comfort in lists and I like the ability to color code it in ways. And I'm just so stuck on the like yellow, green, blue that I've used it for other things just to help me know so I can color code everything. Like I have a spreadsheet that's all of the episodes we do and I color code it based on, you know, different things so I can see so I can try and do a variety. Orange is for documentaries. Thank you for asking. Purple is serial killers. Like these are things so that when I'm scrolling through, I can see the different colors and go, okay, we haven't had this color highlight in a while. I should look back. Where is this list that tells me what the each one is? In my mind.
Oh, how beautiful. How
Ah,
beautiful.
just a nut
What
job.
oh, you welcome. We both are. My light keeps going out over here. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why that's happening. I'm gonna try one more time. Otherwise, we're just gonna do this in the dark. What you drinking over there?
Well, I just finished off a Pepsi because our dick around I ended up getting into it. Now I'm just gonna be a good girl and have a water.
Good for you.
Yeah, it just I don't sleep well after the records. I end up late. I'm laying there for hours. I'm freezing cold for like it just really throws me off. So,
Hmm.
and I did not really sleep last night, so which is hence the energy. Um, so I'm just like try water, try flushing things, see what happens, hope for the best, 'cause I need to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking.
All I'm asking for a little sleep, just a little bit. Hey, baby, just a few Z's. Don't need to be doing that.
I
Well, listen, let's
disagree.
dump. I'm drinking a Diet Coke and a water and some lozenges. That's my life over here. But very excited about this week's episode. Let's get into it. We're talking, of course, the Ruby Franke case. This is our dependent, Jesus Christ, the December patrons poll pick over on patreon.com/true crime and cocktails. Every month you can vote in a poll for an episode we will cover here on the main feed. And this was December's choice. So let me get you up to speed in case you're not familiar right now. Ruby Franke was a popular vlogger who posted videos about her family of 8 on YouTube. For 5 years, the internet adored the Franke family and their wholesome shenanigans until a video in 2020 where the oldest son admitted that his parents made him sleep on the floor for over 7 months as part of a punishment. The wholesome Frankie family image was quickly tarnished, and soon, people were noticing more signs of emotional abuse from past videos. Things took a turn in 2023 when Ruby and her business partner were arrested on 6 counts of aggravated child abuse. So, what happened to Ruby Frankie? Why did the abuse escalate? Who was her business partner? And where the hell was Ruby's husband? Christy Oxborrow investigates.
Oh, buckle up. This is one of the longer ones we've done in a while because there is a lot to get through. So, disclaimer right off the top, this episode will contain mentions of severe child abuse and child sexual assault, so I won't belabor the worst of it, but some details may be upsetting. So, trigger warning for those who need it. Also, I have to absolutely call myself out for mispronouncing Ruby's surname at the end of last week's episode. I said Frank. Obviously, I should have said Frankie. My apologies. In my defense, I'd honestly never heard her name said out loud. I
Mm.
had a 50-50 shot and I fucked it. And that's okay because it was literally like the last 5 seconds of the show. So it's fine. I got it right for this episode, and that's what really matters.
Well, and also, she doesn't deserve it.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't. Um, so part of my research for this episode included the Hulu documentary Devil in the Family, The Fall of Ruby Franke, the Netflix documentary Evil Influencer, The Jodi Hildebrandt Story, and the Sherry Franke memoir, The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom,
Mm.
aka It's Been a Busy Week. So, this week's episode takes place in the American state of Utah. At the end of last year, I started each episode with some fun facts about the main location involved, simply because I love fun facts. And since I enjoyed that part so much, I've decided to keep doing it whenever possible, which leads me to ask, did you know that Utah is the only state in America where every single county contains a part of some national forest?
Huh.
Yeah. The Utah raptor was discovered in Utah, hence the name. It was one of the largest raptors known to exist, measuring approximately 18 feet long.
Wow.
Loftus International is a family run novelty company located in Salt Lake City. Every year, the company sells between 10 and 20,000 rubber chickens. I don't think I've ever purchased a rubber chicken in my life, but I can still appreciate the whimsy. Utah was the first U.S. state to designate the Dutch oven as the state cooking pot, which is a weird sentence to write, let alone say out loud. Yeah, Utah decided that amongst the state symbols, they wanted to include a Dutch oven. To each their own. Utah added the state cooking pot in 1997, and since then, Arkansas and Texas both followed suit in 2001 and 2005, respectively. They also both chose the Dutch oven. And while you're thinking, this is ridiculous information, I feel it's bound to be a Jeopardy question at some point, so in advance I say, you're welcome. According to Mental Floss, people in Utah eat twice the amount of lime green jello than the rest of the country.
Huh.
Apparently, they also like to add shredded carrots to it, which I will not comment on further as I don't want to intentionally yuck anyone's literal yum. Utah was the birthplace of frisbees, hearing aids, car stereos, electric traffic lights, DVDs, electric guitars, television, the artificial heart, and Zambonis, among other
Wow.
things. It is the birthplace of Nolan Bushnell, who co founded both Atari and Chuck E. Cheese.
Where a kid can be a kid.
Thank you so much. Utah was home to the first KFC. It opened in Salt Lake City in 1952.
Huh.
The Sundance Film Festival has taken place in Utah since 1978. It was announced that it will be moving to Colorado in 2027, but still counts,
Yeah.
you know. Countless movies have been filmed in Utah, including over 100 westerns. Some other titles include, but are not limited to, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Planet of the Apes, Easy Rider, Footloose, Back to the Future 3, The Sandlot, Thelma and Louise, Maverick, Dumb and Dumber, Broken Arrow, Evolution, High School Musical, Galaxy Quest, Hereditary, and the 2018 Nicolas Cage movie Looking Glass.
There he is.
Again, it doesn't bode well when he comes up early. Um, I hope that you enjoyed the fun facts because I certainly did. If nothing else, it delays talking about the darker stuff, which is where we have finally got to. So I'm so sorry, people. Yeah, I guess you had to scroll 40 minutes to get to the to get to the goods. All right. Well, Ruby Griffiths was born January 18th, 1982 in Logan, Utah. She was one of 5 children born to a Mormon family. Utah is the epicenter of the Mormon religion, which is also known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or simply LDS. According to Mental Floss, about 2% of the American population is Mormon, while in Utah, it's more like 60%. We've covered episodes involving the Mormon faith before, including Murder Among the Mormons and Sister Wives, so it's not necessary to get into all the fundamentals of the religion, but a big part of it is their strive for perfection, which will allow them to reach the highest kingdom of glory, which I guess is their version of heaven. Um, the main focus for a lot of Mormons seems to be spreading the gospel of Jesus through missionary work and then getting married young and raising large families. Not all Mormons, mind you, but a very large percentage for sure. After graduating from high school, Ruby Griffiths attended Utah State in the fall of 2000. And while Ruby told people she was going to major in accounting, her only real goal for university was to nab a husband. And hey, no shade, to each their own. A lot of women of our generation were raised to believe that their ultimate life goal should be to get married. We don't have time to get into all of that. We had time for Utah fun facts, but we don't have time for the patriarchy. So Ruby meets an engineering student named Kevin Franke at some sort of university event. Looking back, Kevin says he wasn't aware that Ruby was, for lack of better words, on the prowl, or that she was casually seeing as many men as possible to try and lock one down, to the point where she was taking engineering classes simply because they were male dominated, which she felt increased her options for finding a future husband. To be clear, I have absolutely no judgment for Ruby for that behavior. We've all had moments as a shark in the dating pool of life. I will save my judgment for her later behavior.
Of course.
Now, I don't know how many men Ruby was auditioning for the role of husband, nor do I care, because in the end, it doesn't matter. But apparently, Ruby had a chart in her room where she listed all the qualities she wanted in a man and then compared those qualities to every man she was considering. Those qualities included such things as likes yard work, smells good, prays daily, doesn't swear, at least 5 inches taller, wants 6 children, exactly, is not overly spiritual, and is crazy about me. When Kevin and Ruby went on a date, they were holding hands under a blanket while sitting with a group of people. Kevin said he noticed that Ruby was also holding hands with the guy sitting on the other side of her. But instead of seeing that as the absolute red flag that it was, Kevin decided, well, that meant he had to try harder. So he spoke with Ruby's roommate, who told Kevin about the chart. Kevin then wrote down the criteria that Ruby was looking for and tried to convince her that he was exactly what she wanted. Kevin was so desperate for Ruby to choose him, and Ruby was so desperate to get married in general. In a weird way, they were actually kind of a perfect match. Just 2 weeks After they met, they were engaged. And when I say engaged, I mean Ruby looked at him and said, "So are we getting married?" And he went, "Yeah." And then 2 months later, they got married. Ruby was 18, Kevin was 22.
Jesus.
Yeah, it moved fast. They settled down in Springville, Utah, where they had 6 children between March 2003 and September 2013, starting with Sherry in 2003 and Chad in 2005. Now, since the youngest 4 children are still minors as of this record, I won't use their names in this episode for the sake of their privacy. However, I will say after Chad, Kevin and Ruby had a girl in 2007, a girl in 2009, a boy in 2011, and a girl in 2013. Now, I don't know what Ruby did for work. I assume she was a stay at home mom, while Kevin worked as a professor of civil engineering at Brigham Young University, which is in Provo, just 6 miles northwest of Springville. In 2015, Ruby got the idea to start a vlog on YouTube. She told her family that she didn't want it to be forced, and that she just wanted to show the world that happy families do exist. Years later, Sherry said she believed Ruby really started the channel as a way to bring in money and simply to validate Ruby's ego. In January 2015, Ruby created the channel 8 Passengers in reference to the number of people in their family. The first video posted was an older one from 2 years prior, when Ruby cut a cake to reveal the gender of her 6th baby. Soon after, Ruby received her first check from YouTube. It was only about $85, but it was enough to inspire Ruby to keep pushing out the content. Kevin said that seeing actual money coming in made him more invested in the channel, which is interesting because later Kevin claimed he was really uncomfortable being filmed. I guess the money helped his comfort level. Since they started making actual money from the channel, Kevin and Ruby officially created 8 Passengers LLC, which listed the children as employees and Ruby as the CEO. Sounds eerily familiar to what happened with the Duggar family, but for more information on that, check out episode 140. 8 Passengers started to grow a big following, and in 2017, they had a video go viral. It was something as simple as the youngest Frankie child, who was a toddler at the time, climbed out of her own crib. My God, was the internet really that young? Just, 9 years ago. It got nearly 1 million views, and soon after, the 8 Passengers channel hit 1 million subscribers. A lot of the followers seemed particularly interested in Chad, who was roughly 12 at the time. There were constant comments about how attractive Chad was, which is concerning at best, given his age. Chad said they received so many messages from young girls asking to marry him. And to that I say, not to burst your bubble, bud, but they probably weren't all young girls.
Mm,
But if that's what he needs to tell himself to
of
sleep at night,
course.
I'm going to let it go. The more the internet swooned over Chad, a literal child, the more Ruby shoved a camera in his face. Kevin later said that Ruby exploited their son, but admitted he didn't do anything about it because Chad was everything that Kevin wanted to be when he was younger, so he was happy to live vicariously through his 12-year-old son. By 2018, Ruby was kind of seen as America's mom. The channel had racked up more than 1 billion views. They had more than 2 million subscribers. And by then, I mean, the Frankies were making more than $100,000 a month on YouTube.
Jesus.
So, with so much money coming in, the Frankies bought a larger house in the Happy Valley neighborhood in Springville. According to documentaries, uh, money wasn't the only reason for the move. Apparently, Ruby had a reputation for filming in the neighborhood without asking anyone whose house or whose face might, be in the background of a shot. So the neighbors kind of started to complain, and Ruby decided the family should move. And the neighbors weren't the only ones annoyed with Ruby. The Frankie kids were starting to resent having their entire lives broadcasted across the internet and, not allowing them any privacy, which is absolutely valid considering that the videos contained such wildly personal subjects as Chad's first time shaving, bra shopping with brothers, and one of the kids hits puberty. Gross.
It's
Um,
weird.
when the kids started to complain about filming, Ruby offered to pay them $10 for every video they agreed to help with, which is not a lot of money given that the channel was bringing in over 1,000 times that much. To make filming worse, Ruby was known to snap on her family and edit the videos so she just appeared sweet and loving on camera. The Devil in the Family documentary shows a lot of unedited Eight Passengers videos where Ruby goes from like sweet and smiling into the camera to screaming and threatening to take away privileges if kids don't cooperate. And look, as someone who publicly posts videos of myself unboxing items while simultaneously yelling at my cats for being noisy, I feel I can't comment on this particular behavior. I will say, I am shocked that Ruby didn't delete all that unedited footage.
I know.
It's wild to me. Especially when there was a video where Ruby told Chad to be happy and he said he didn't feel like it. And so Ruby said, quote, fake being happy then. So much for not wanting her videos to be forced. There were also videos where she told the kids that she was letting them vlog as though they had chosen this lifestyle on their own. Chad seemed to be the one who hated it the most of all the kids. Um, Later saying that it made him like really come to hate his mother. He said filming content for brand deals felt really fake. So he would often purposely mess up takes just to make his mother mad. Ruby would then take away Chad's phone, his laptop, his Xbox, anything to kind of hope to turn him around. They pulled him out of sports that he loved doing just to try and get him to listen to them. Nothing seemed to help. It got to the point where Chad got expelled from school. Unsure of how to deal with it, Kevin and Ruby considered sending Chad to military school, but in 2019, a friend named Paige recommended a therapist who focused on self destructive behavior. The therapist was Jody Hildebrandt. Jody was born June 18th, 1969, in Tucson, Arizona. She was raised in a traditional LDS home with 6 siblings. She was outgoing in her youth and loved to sing and play sports. Her family eventually moved to Utah, and when she was 21, Jody did an LDS mission to Puerto Rico. Jody was married in 1993 to an unidentified man. The couple had 2 children and divorced in 1996. Jody was given full custody of the kids, whose identities are unknown. But I'm curious about the kids because according to Sherry Franke's book, Jody's kids were 9 and 7 in 1999, meaning they would have been born like 1990 and 1992, which is before Jody got married. And anything intimate before marriage is a huge no-no in the Mormon religion. So I just have some questions there. It's not my business. I just want the tea.
Yeah.
But after her divorce, Jody attended Utah Valley Community College, where she graduated in 2005 as a licensed clinical mental health counselor. Jody was well respected in the community and came highly recommended. After a Zoom meeting with Jody and Chad during a family vacation to Florida, Jody agreed to help Chad, suggesting the family commit to weekly one-on-one sessions as well as send Chad to a wilderness therapy program for troubled teens in Arkansas. The program lasted 49 days and cost nearly $14,000. Ruby decided to use this as content for the show.
Ugh.
So she not only told the Eight Passengers viewers that Chad was in therapy, but she would also post videos where she would make him talk about what he talked about during his therapy sessions, which is incredibly violating. The Frankies all enjoyed Jody's direct, tough love approach, and soon Ruby started believing so hard in what Jody was saying that she started having personal sessions with Jody herself. Soon, Ruby was suggesting that she and Kevin join Jody's program for couples to save their marriage. This was the first time that Kevin was ever aware their marriage was in trouble. I'm not suggesting that it's because a lot of men, not all men, aren't very observant. I think it's just more a case of Ruby just wanted part of every single thing this woman was doing. So she was like, uh-oh, we need to save our marriage. Your marriage was fine. Was it? Doesn't matter. So Jody's main program was called Connections, which sounds normal until you see how it's spelled. It was basically like a church within the Mormon church, and it claimed to be a solution for anyone who was feeling pain, depression, or anxiety. Connections included religious based therapy, which Jody said would help people to live in truth. In fact, she would urge her clients to distance themselves from anyone not living by Jody's standard of truth. But Jody's standards were way over the top. For example, she openly told people that one of her clients was cheating on her husband. First of all, that's probably something you should keep in the session. But, um, but why was she cheating on her husband? Simply because the woman once commented that her mailman was attractive. The woman didn't do anything with the mailman. She didn't suggest she ever wanted to. She just simply said, "Oh, yeah, he's good looking." And that was considered an affair. I guess Jody would have a lot of problems with Blanche, but to be fair, both Blanche and Christy have a lot of problems with Jody, so it all balances out. There was also this time when Jody was working with a couple where the husband said he occasionally looked at porn. Jody broke confidentiality and not only told the church that the man had said that, but also told the university where the man worked and labeled him a sexual predator.
Jesus.
The man was removed from his church and fired from his job. Jody's therapist license was suspended for 18 months due to that breach in confidentiality. But she kept on doing her job, and she got away with it because she just changed her title to life coach. Jody was incredibly popular in the community. She had numerous clients, both in her connection couples groups as well as individual men's and women's groups. And just because people couldn't get enough, Jody also had a podcast where she spouted her connections nonsense to over 500,000 subscribers. She was making enough money from everything she was able to buy a $5 million home in Ivans, which is about 263 miles southwest of Springville. And when I say home, I mean it's an over 10,000 square foot mansion on an acre and a half of property with a guest house for one person.
Jesus.
But you do you. So yeah, she was making really good money for someone who would tell people that every married couple should take a year-long separation to help their marriage. No matter what the problem is, even if there is a problem, doesn't matter. That'll help. An entire year where they don't speak to each other at all. And if kids are involved, well, one of the parents, usually the father, just doesn't get to see or talk to his kids for an entire year. And shockingly, people were going along with it. But years later, many of those couples got divorced because Jody had driven a wedge between them that did not seem to be there before they met Jody. Interesting. Almost sounds like someone was jealous to see a happy marriage to the point that she pushed people to divorce so her clients would be as lonely as she was, allegedly. But despite any negativity surrounding Jody, Ruby fully bought into Jody's gospel. And not only was Chad having sessions with Jody, Ruby was having her own sessions. She even started forcing the sessions on Sherry. When Sherry was halfway through her senior year of high school, Ruby pulled Sherry out of track, which Sherry loved, claiming Sherry needed time to work on her personal development. According to Sherry's memoir, Ruby told her she wasn't emotionally vulnerable enough with Ruby, and there was a wall between them, which would negatively affect her relationship with her future husband.
Jesus.
Ruby said that Sherry lacked compassion and empathy. So, to help fix her, Ruby gifted Sherry one on one therapy sessions with Jody. When Sherry said no, Ruby told her, well, if you don't do the sessions, we're taking away your phone and your car, and gosh, we might just outright pull you out of school altogether.
So bizarre.
Yeah. And since Sherry had hopes of attending university and knew that missing the last half of her senior year might affect that, Sherry just agreed to do the sessions, even though she absolutely didn't want to. In October 2019, Ruby was so deep into connections, she convinced Kevin to join. At first, Kevin referred to it as a cult, and he said he only joined to make his wife happy. So Kevin and Ruby take some couples classes together. Kevin joins the men's support group, which included addiction classes, because according to Jody, every single man was addicted to pornography. Even before talking to him, she's like, porn addiction. Just because you're a man, which is wild. Jody praised Kevin in the group, which was a massive boost to his ego. He said he liked getting positive attention, and Jody helped Ruby become happier, which in turn made the Frankies a happy family again. Soon, Kevin and Ruby became the faces of Connections, proving to the community how much that program worked. Spoiler alert, it didn't. When COVID hit in 2020, Ruby believed it was a sign of the second coming of Jesus. She started emergency prepping, filling her pantry with an obscene amount of food. And while that was a fairly common response during the pandemic, looking back, I think it might have been the first sign that Ruby was starting to unravel mentally. In May 2020, Ruby posted a video to 8 passengers in which Chad revealed that he'd been sleeping in the basement on a beanbag chair for the past 7 months. Ruby said Chad had been acting up, and Jody suggested they take away Chad's privileges as a punishment. Ruby said Chad was given the option of either sleeping in the living room or in the basement. And she said he's the one that chose the basement. So let's see, what would a teenage boy rather do for sleeping arrangements? A couch in the living room with zero privacy, or a beanbag chair on the floor in a room with a tiny bit of privacy? Jody said that children are not entitled to privacy, which is how she convinced Ruby and Kevin to take Chad's bedroom away as a punishment for behavior they didn't like. After that reveal, the internet completely turned on Ruby, calling her abusive and a monster. 90% of the family's income stopped coming in almost overnight. Hundreds of thousands of people unsubscribed. Brands who had previously done deals with the family were now distancing themselves. The whole family image that Ruby had tried so hard to manufacture had just been irrevocably broken. Kevin said that they were unjustly being attacked by cancel culture. I mean, it seems more like the Frankies had put one persona out in the world, and when the cracks started to show, the world realized they didn't like what they were seeing. Like an unedited video of Ruby and one of her kids when she told them, just be yourself. And the kid said, well, this is myself. And Ruby said, quote, then change it. Yeah, nothing like an ego boost for the kids. There were videos of Ruby snapping at her kids and telling them to shut up. One in particular, which was filmed by Kevin, who later claimed he never knew that things were that bad.
Hmm.
Sir, you witnessed it, and then stuck your head in the sand because, as you admitted, you might not have liked having your life filmed, but you liked the money that came along with it. There was also a video where Ruby was speaking to her youngest child, who, I don't know, was maybe 4, 5, something like that at the time. And she told her child if she didn't stop her current behavior, Ruby would cut the head off her child's favorite toy. The child immediately started crying, and Ruby kept filming. That wasn't unedited. That was just, I believe, a video that they posted.
Listen, I'm going to save it till the end, but I'm just like, what did she think was going to happen? Like, that's the thing I don't understand. Anyway.
It's like It's like she wanted to rage bait before rage bait was like a common thing.
I was just going to say that. It feels like she was trying to create rage bait, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't
And
work
people were
like
like,
now it can
you're
work.
just a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The troubling videos did not stop there. Ruby posted a video where she mentioned her youngest child, who was roughly 7 at the time, had forgotten to take a lunch to school. Ruby said she absolutely would not be taking that child any food, despite the teacher contacting Ruby about it. She said since it was the child's responsibility to make her own lunch, she needed to learn the consequences. Ruby said it was simple. You forget your lunch, you go hungry. Ruby then later added she really hopes that no children shared their food with her daughter. She wanted to teach her a lesson.
Jesus.
Views on the channel consistently dropped while the number of negative comments increased. For some reason, Ruby had her kids read through all the comments. But I can't tell if that was to somehow get sympathy from them for her or if it was to make them feel guilty as though she was trying to blame them for what people were saying. Kevin suggested that Ruby make an apology video. She refused. She said she was saving her family and she wanted to show the world what real parenting looked like. When you didn't have to make difficult decisions, or sorry, she wanted to show the world what real parenting looked like when you had to make difficult decisions based on love. Ruby said, quote, "This is literally the way that God intended our children to be raised up." Nothing makes me quite as angry as when someone does something shitty to another person and then hides behind the excuse of, well, that's what God would want.
I know.
Get bent. And the more hate that Ruby received for her videos, the deeper she seemed to go into connections. Ruby even did the team leadership training to become a certified trainer with connections. It was a 6-week course that cost roughly $5,000. Then there was the 18-week company leadership course that cost nearly $15,000. The content on 8 Passengers then suddenly shifted from fun, energetic family activities to Ruby teaching religious lessons, combined with a lot of crying and praying. And the deeper the religious videos got, the more her abuse seemed to increase. Jody had pushed the idea that love is obedience, so if the kids ever got out of line, like kids kinda do sometimes, Ruby responded physically. She spanked the kids, she whipped them with a belt. At one point, she hit one of the kids so hard they had to clean blood off a wall.
Jesus Christ.
Ruby and Kevin completely followed Jody's teachings, believing she was personally chosen by God to deliver his message to the world. So in May 2021, when Jody called Ruby and said she was being haunted by spirits at night, Ruby fully believed her. Jody claimed that hooded shadow figures would appear around her bed at night. She believed it was Satan's way of coming for her. So Ruby drove nearly 4 hours to Jody's house to comfort her and then suggested that Jody move in with the Frankies while she healed. Now, I don't need to tell you how unethical it is for a therapist to move in with their patient, but I'm going to do it anyway. At the time, Jody was counseling at least 4 of the 8 Frankies. Living in the same house as them while actively counseling them is incredibly inappropriate and crosses so many boundaries. But Ruby and Kevin were so convinced that Jody was a messenger of God, they just didn't think twice and let her move right in. They decided to give Jody Sherry's room because it was the largest of the children's bedrooms, and Sherry was leaving for university 2 weeks later. And while it's like, oh, it's only 2 weeks, it's the fact that they were like, by the way, get your shit out of there. It's not your room anymore.
Yeah.
Wild. Wild. Jody would have moments where she would appear to be obsessed. Watching clips of this, I mean, it's shocking to me that anyone believed her. She would sit in a trance. I'm using air quotes with that. And she would use this like really gravelly voice and say things like, she's mine and I own her. Um, they were convinced that was demons taking over Jody's body. I'm convinced Jody's a liar, using a fake demonic possession to try and get between Ruby and Kevin. And good for her, it worked. Ruby said she felt it was her purpose to help cast the evil spirits out. So a few months after Jody moved into the house, Ruby moved into the bedroom with her. No one else was allowed in that room without permission from Ruby and Jody, not even Sherry, despite the fact that that was technically Sherry's bedroom. Kevin was not allowed on the top floor of the house where the room was located. He couldn't even go on the same floor. And then later, Jody said Kevin wasn't allowed to go into the kitchen without her permission in his own home. Since Ruby and Jody, well, I guess that's kind of their names together, since they were sharing a bed, people started to speculate that a relationship may have crossed a line physically. When Sherry was visiting, she went into the room to get a book she had left behind, and she said there were candles all over the place and massage oils. Sherry also claimed to have read some of the messages that Ruby and Jody had sent each other and said to her she believed things had gotten physical. I'm not saying two grown women can't share a bed with nothing happening. I mean, my God, you and I have spooned a few times, but it's never gone further than that. I'm just saying, we also never got out massage oils. I was going to say we never got out candles, but I'm like, there was that one time with the
We
Ouija board. Does that count? I don't know.
But that wasn't for us to sleep with.
That is very true.
It wasn't like, hey, get out the candles and the Ouija board. It's time to turn the lights down low. Let's conjure a spirit.
Oh God, we really thought we'd become witches in that moment, because I think we made things happen.
That's all I'm saying.
Genuinely. Yeah. So neither Ruby nor Jody has ever publicly suggested anything sexual about their relationship. Jody was staunchly anti-LGBTQIA+. She'd even publicly claimed that being gay was an addiction that people could overcome. She also referred to it as sexual deviancy, but that's likely because she's a hateful bitch. Do I feel bad outright calling her a bitch? No. Do I think it was unprofessional? Bitch, I never claimed to be otherwise.
She all right.
She ain't. Oh, God. That's who came to play tonight. I don't know. I love it. Jody's big thing was she wanted people to live their truth, but only if their truth included that person being straight. It's a garbage opinion, and she's straight up trash. Jody said, quote, I am a daughter of God. That's who I am. I'm not gay because I am divine. Which sounds a lot like a person who is so deeply self-loathing of their own sexuality that they can't just let other people live their lives, allegedly. Mm-hmm. In late 2021, Ruby started to claim that her youngest two children, which included a 10-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl, were acting up. I'm no expert, but moving your therapist into your house and then letting her set rules as to what parts of the house certain people are allowed to go in might be disrupting to the children's lives, which could absolutely explain why they were acting up. But again, I'm no expert. Ruby said the younger two children were being selfish and entitled. She thought about pulling them out of school for long periods of time and forcing them to clean the house from top to bottom would fix them, but it didn't. So suddenly changing your kids' routine by pulling them out of school didn't make them act any better? No shit. Every child is different, but kids typically respond positively to a set routine. But again, I'm not an expert. I'm just a mother. But since the kids weren't acting the way that Ruby wanted, she decided the ultimate lesson was to ensure that the kids received nothing for Christmas. Again, they were 8 and 10 at the time. Now, when I say nothing, I mean nothing. Not only did Ruby tell those kids Santa wasn't bringing them anything, she also refused to let anyone else give them gifts. When the 8-year-old's best friend dropped off a gift at the house for her, Ruby made her daughter throw it out. Ruby then made the two children watch the rest of the family open their gifts on Christmas morning, and when they were done, Jody instructed the children to clean up the mess. Jody said that children are not entitled to a magical childhood and that they can't just expect love and presents. Sounds to me like someone didn't feel loved in their youth and is trying to ensure that other children have the same disappointing experience that she did, allegedly. But I do find it interesting that Jody, someone who claims to be a follower of the Mormon faith, says that children aren't entitled to love. Because the president of the LDS Church from 1995 to 2008, that was Gordon Hinckley. What's this quote from Gordon Hinckley? Oh, quote, children need sunlight. They need happiness. They need love and nurture. They need kindness and refreshment and affection. Every home, regardless of the cost of home, can provide an environment of love. So that was just my way of saying it's not all Mormons. It's just these bitches. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it almost sounds like somewhere along the way, Jody's beliefs got a little bit twisted, and she felt the need to share those twisted beliefs with as many people as she could through connections.
Ugh.
In the summer of 2022, Ruby officially changed her 8 Passengers YouTube channel into an account called Moms of Truth, where Ruby started posting content with Jody where they talked about blame, the tactics of deception, truth, and distortion. Ruby also posted a video claiming that despite making millions of dollars on 8 Passengers, she chose to leave the channel because her children were being harmed with entitlement. She said she only left the channel to save her family.
Oh boy.
Couple of things. One, I just like numbering things.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't leave the channel. Your viewers left you when they learned that you're an abusive piece of shit towards your own children. It's called consequences to your own actions. If you don't make your lunch, you go hungry. If you hurt your children in front of the world's gonna fucking hate you, you bitch. There we go. I'm angry at Ruby Franke. As a mother, it was bound to happen.
Of course, it was only a matter of time.
Yeah. And 2, forgot I was counting them. You were the one harming your kids, not the supposed entitlement. You shoved a camera in their faces. You put their personal lives online. You forced them to make content to bring in money. And when the internet turned on you, you made your kids read those comments because nothing says good parenting like letting your kids read negative comments. I'm sure it helped their self-esteem. In July 2022, Chad confessed during a therapy session with Jody that he had watched porn. I don't like saying it out loud for the poor guy. I also don't like that this had to go on blast through the internet. Through, what do they call it again? Moms of Truth. Get fucked. So Jody, because she's a great therapist, made Chad confess to Ruby, who screamed and sobbed uncontrollably and said that Jody was being possessed by evil spirits because of Chad and what Chad had been doing behind their backs. So apparently watching porn caused Jody to be visited by hooded shadow figures sent by Satan. That makes complete sense. Nut job. Ruby decided Chad was messing with the spirit of the house, so he had to move out, even though he was 17 years old and had literally nowhere to go. But since Chad had been hearing this sort of rhetoric for the last few years of his life, he truly believed he was responsible for Jody's possession, so he agreed to leave. I also don't know if it's anywhere here in my notes, but I just want to clarify. A man once told Jody during a session he watched porn once in a year. One time in a full calendar year. And she went, well, then you're addicted. If I mean, I can't with this woman. She just hated men. She just did. I'll say it. She did. We might get angry at men sometimes, but we can love them too.
Oh God,
I
yeah.
mean, we especially love them when they're deeply in love and play
All the
the
things you
sport of
say, all
hockey.
the things you say,
Fuck
running through my head,
yes!
running through my head, all the things you said.
When they take that, when they do the when they take the song and then flip to the cover of the song, chills.
Save it for Patreon.
That's the joke. I don't know if that was in my notes. Oh no, who are we kidding? That was my 3-page scene that I wrote. Has to be in there somewhere. This is the thing. When episodes get dark and they get me angry and fired up, then we're doing callbacks from the beginning.
Oh
Then
yeah,
we're,
yeah, yeah.
this is just how it works. This is just how it works. So Sherry hears about this situation because she's away at university. She hears Chad's getting kicked out. She gets upset. She texts Ruby. Sherry decides, I'm going to tell her how I really feel. And she said that I feel like you don't care about me, and outright said, I feel like you don't love me. Ruby responded the next day and said Sherry was aggressive and full of resentment. She said, quote, I'm going to invite you to invite me to talk about this with you in person. Which, let's just say, is an insane thing to say. Just say, let's talk.
Yep.
Let's talk in person. Invite you to invite me is insane. It's insane. Sherry meets up with her parents at a local restaurant. Ruby then called her selfish and said, quote, we'd like to invite you to pay for dinner. What's with all this inviting stuff? Are you just telling them what to do, but by using the bullshit word invite, it makes it sound like they have a choice or that it's their idea? Also, as a mother, if your child says, I feel like you don't love me, you need to automatically reassure them that you do. The fact that she chose to call her child aggressive simply because she couldn't handle accepting her failure as a parent, I mean, is this another sign of her declining mental health? Or was she just never a good mother to begin with?
I
I
think
don't
that.
know. Maybe she was incapable of loving anyone other than herself. I don't know. Soon after, Sherry started to speak with a therapist, like a legit one, not Jody. And that's when she realized that Ruby's behaviors had actually been emotionally abusive. So Sherry reached out to Chad, who ended up mentioning this to Ruby. So Ruby contacted Sherry again, said she's being hurtful and intimidating. Ruby called Sherry a liar, said she felt a lot of disconnect between them, which is a word that Jody overused, if I'm going to be honest. Ruby said um, the most loving choice she could make would be to invite Sherry to live in her own reality. What does that mean? It means Ruby was cutting Sherry out of her life simply because she couldn't handle her child being honest with her. Allegedly.
Mm.
So Ruby has kicked out her oldest son. She's disowned her oldest daughter. What could she possibly do next? Well, shortly after, Ruby randomly told Kevin Jody had a vision that Kevin needed to leave because he was selfish and having lustful thoughts. But they didn't outright tell him to leave. They simply told him they were inviting him to leave
Oh
to
my
work
God.
on himself. He would be gone at least a year and have absolutely no communication with Ruby or any of their children. Kevin said, okay. Just like that. He later said he was so scared that Ruby was going to ask for a divorce that he was willing to do whatever she wanted. And to that I say, is a divorce really the worst option compared to a long term separation where you can't even speak to your own children? Kevin told the kids he was going to leave so he could work on himself and come back and be the dad that they deserve. Ruby took pictures as Kevin was hugging each child goodbye, and then she said, quote, "This is good content."
Ugh.
Which is very, and I'm reaping all the benefits. Two of us doing the hand gesture at the exact same time. I said it to you before the record. We are the dumbest people I know and the funniest people I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no one is dumber than us, but also no one makes me laugh as much as us.
Well, the biggest compliment I feel like I can give anybody is telling them that something's stupid or dumb. I said that all the
Yes.
time on the baking show. I think it's very true. I think it's the
Yes.
biggest term of endearment. If something is so good it's stupid, come on. That's us.
Oh, 100%. Uh, we crack me up. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, don't speak for yourself.
Oh, God, we're stupid.
Did I just write down that timestamp because I'm going to want that video clip of this? Yes.
Thank God, because yeah, that's going in the best of 2026, and it's January. I can't think about it.
I don't know
And
what highlighter color that's going to be, but we're going to chartreuse or something. She's going to need more colors.
yeah, yeah, paint with all the colors of the wind. Anyway, what?
Don't worry about it.
It's always necessary to go into Disney lyrics.
Of
So
course.
after Kevin leaves the house, the videos from Moms of Truth started to get more intense and cult-like.
Mm.
They started saying things like, and this is a direct quote from one of their videos, sometimes you have to surgically cut the demons out of your child. They spoke about the principles they lived by, and Ruby said, and this is a direct quote, "I love principles more than my own child." And that's a video she posted online, which is, something. They spoke about, no, there we go. Ruby and Jody started filming videos at Jody's house in Ivans. And even though the house was massive, I guess they wanted to freely film in the whole space. So they left the four children back in Springville alone while Ruby was 4 hours away. Seems safe.
Yeah.
Neighbors in Springville noticed the two younger children in the house alone, often looking out the windows for hours. There was a time when Ruby left them there alone for 5 days. Since they were concerned, neighbors contacted Sherry, who then asked the Division of Child and Family Services, or DCFS, to do a welfare check on her siblings. When Ruby learned about it, she told Sherry she was selfish and called it betrayal after everything Ruby had done for her.
Oh my God.
To be clear, children don't owe their parents anything. Yeah, parents paid all the bills and fed and clothed their children because that was their job, because they chose to parent the child, not the other way around. The child doesn't choose to be there. The parent chose for them to be there. They need to act like it. Anyhow, this is getting me fired up.
I'm living for it, baby.
So Ruby said, well, the kids were old enough to take care of themselves, and 5 days wasn't a big deal. The kids were 11 and 9
Good God.
at the time. Ruby then called Sherry jealous and desperate for attention. To me, it's weird that Ruby would think she could call anyone desperate for attention after she pushed her family vlog on YouTube. Who's the entitled one now, Ruby? It's you, bitch. Anyway, I'm so over her. Oh, in the fall
Oh.
of 2022, Ruby pulled the children out of school and got rid of the family dog. I don't know what that means. I don't know if she had it put down. I don't know if she gave it to someone else. I don't know if she surrendered it somewhere or drove to the woods and let it out of the car. I have no idea. I hope that dog is somewhere safe and happy. But regardless of all these things, DCFS closed the file on the case, stating there was not enough evidence of abuse. After that, the neighbors just didn't see the kids at all. Sherry is convinced that Ruby was given leeway because of the Free Range Parenting Act that was passed in Utah in 2018. The whole point of the act was to amend the definition of child neglect to protect parents who allow age appropriate independence, like kids walking to school by themselves or playing outside by themselves or staying home alone. And yeah, an 11 and 9-year-old kids, they could stay home alone for an hour or two. That's one thing. While you're in the same city, sure. Home alone for 5 days? No one can convince me that's not neglect, especially when Jody's house clearly had enough room for those children to stay. She just didn't want the kids there. Neither of them did. And I guess the whole thing made Ruby suspicious of her neighbors, so she quietly packed the house and moved her and the kids to Jody's house in Ivans. They, of course, didn't mention this to Kevin, who had not spoken to Ruby or the children in months at this point. The Moms of Truth videos continued with Ruby saying the kids aren't entitled to personal space because the entire home belongs to the parent. Jody added that her goal was to help raise, teach, and guide Ruby's children. I think that Jody was kind of a cult because she shoved her ideals on the Franke family and then slowly started to isolate Ruby from everyone around her.
Mm.
To be clear, I do not think of Ruby as an innocent victim in all of this. I think she might have been brainwashed slightly, but overall, Ruby knew exactly what she was doing. I just wanted to add that in case you thought I was only blaming Jody. Never fear, dear listeners. I blame Jody, I blame Ruby, and I blame Kevin for everything these children went through. But I haven't raged out fully yet.
I can't wait.
That's coming.
Can't wait.
On August 30th, 2023, a man calls 911 at 10:46 a.m. to say that a 12-year-old boy has shown up at his house. The boy had duct tape around his ankles and his wrists. It appeared to be covering rope burns. The child was hungry, thirsty, and severely emaciated. The man broke down in tears on the phone call, trying to describe this child's wounds, saying the child showed up at his home and asked for a ride to the nearest police station. It was over 100 degrees, which is like 38 degrees Celsius. The child was not wearing any shoes. Doorbell cameras in the area show the boy had gone to 3 houses before he finally got an answer. When police arrived, the boy told them he escaped from a house and his 9-year-old sister was still there. But he said he had not seen his sister in over a month. The boy and girl were, of course, the youngest 2 Franke children. Police went to Jody's house to search for more children while the boy was taken to the hospital via ambulance. Jody answered the door and refused to move, so the officers physically removed her from the home while they searched. They noticed the entire basement was just concrete and mostly empty, with a door that kind of looked like a safe with a large gold dial on it. The door was locked, and they thought maybe there was a room behind it, so they asked Jody for the code to the door, and she said she didn't know the door had been locked since she moved in a few years earlier. Police checked the rest of the house, where they found the 9-year-old girl sitting alone in a closet. She was emaciated, scared, and her head had recently been shaved. She didn't say a word to police. Police looked into the family and realized there were 2 other children, specifically 2 girls aged 14 and 16, who were unaccounted for. It turns out Ruby was en route to Springville with the two teenagers when Jody called her to say the 12-year-old had escaped. Ruby dropped the girls off with a family friend and went back to Ivan's. The girls were later found unharmed. Ruby walked into the house while the police were there, didn't say a word. She just walked in past everybody and just sat on the couch. Like nothing, like it was just a day, like she was a ghost. Police told her she was under arrest, and she just stared at them blankly, turned around, put her hands behind her back, just said nothing. Ruby and Jody were placed in handcuffs and taken to the Ivans police station. During questioning, Ruby said nothing. She just stared at them with long, slow blinks. When Jody was questioned, she said she wanted to cooperate and tell the police everything she knew. But her lawyer instructed her not to say anything, so can't. And then she just kept repeating, like, I want to. But I can't. I've been on your side before. I'm a therapist. But like, I want to, but I can't. Like, that was her whole interview. It was enraging. So both women were charged with multiple counts of aggravated child abuse and placed in a police car to be transferred to Washington County Purgatory Correctional. Since she still hadn't spoken at this point, police asked Ruby if she needed any medical assistance. She shook her head no. As Jody was being put in the police car, she said, "Those kids shouldn't be around other kids." She didn't elaborate. The two women then sang hymns together all the way to the prison. When police searched the house, they found garbage cans in Jody's bathroom that were overflowing with saran wrap and medical gauze that had been used to wrap around the 12-year-old's wounds. They had a mixture of honey and cayenne pepper that was found at the scene, which got put on all of his wounds. Jody said that's the thing you use to help them heal. And I understand that honey, I guess, has like healing properties or something, but cayenne pepper on an open wound sounds painful to me. So were they trying to do it just to continue the kid's torture, or were they genuinely trying to heal his wounds so that they could continue to torture him? Either way, I mean, it's grim at best. The officers went back to the basement where that large locked door was. They decided they're just going to muck around with it, try some combos, see what happens. The first one they tried, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sure enough, the door opened. Inside was a panic room of sorts. There was like a small bed, like a Murphy style bed that came out of the wall. There was a small sink area. In some of the drawers in this room, police found handcuffs, rope, used medical gauze, rolls of duct tape, and more of that honey cayenne pepper paste. Police believe that once Jody realized the child escaped, she put the handcuffs he'd gotten out of into that panic room to hide them, proving she did lie to police when she said she didn't know the combination. Kevin Franke then made an appearance at the police station. At this point, he hadn't seen or spoken to his children in over a year, but he just showed up and said he was there to pick them up. He seemed genuinely confused as to why the children were there to begin with. When asked who told him the children were there in the first place, Kevin said he preferred not to say. Kevin later admitted that it was Ruby who called him, but he didn't tell police that because he didn't want her to get into any trouble. Ruby allegedly told Kevin that the 9 and 12-year-olds were demonically possessed. She said, quote, "Adults have a hard time understanding that children can be full of evil and what that takes to fight it." She said that one of the children had gotten out and she could only imagine what lies he was telling the police. She told Kevin to go pick the kids up at the station and said this was his chance to redeem himself.
Oh my God.
When police told Kevin about the horrific abuse that his children had endured, He refused to believe it. They showed him photos of his children and their very obvious injuries. And he told the police it was all lies because the police were trying to tear his family apart. Sir, I think Jody and Ruby were the ones trying to do that. The police were the ones sitting on the floor of the closet trying to comfort your daughter enough so that she would be okay to talk to them and so that they would let her know she was safe. And I don't always praise police on this show, but I will say that was a beautiful moment. And that has to have been a dad to see that kid and just know, sit with her.
Yeah, that clip is really hard to watch, I
It's,
found. It's
yeah,
so sad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, she's just also so thin. And
Oh,
yeah,
it's awful. It's
yeah.
awful.
When police interviewed the 12-year-old boy, he described the horrific abuse that he had endured. Forced to stand in the sun all day long, tied down to the floor with weights, forced to jump on a small trampoline for hours until he passed out. He said it started with small, where they would make him like carry boxes up and down the stairs as a form of punishment. He said Ruby would often deny him food, but she wouldn't call it starving him, she would call it fasting. He said he was often bound with rope, but it was okay because he deserved it. And honestly, in this entire horror show, I think this is the part that hit me the hardest. Ruby and Jody made that kid believe he deserved any of this. And it's so heartbreaking when you realize after he escaped and he made it to the neighbor's house, he asked for a ride to the police. And at first I thought it was to get help. But no, it was because he wanted to turn himself in. His mother convinced him he belonged in jail, and that's why they were treating him this way. I pray that this child has received some really good therapy and will continue to do so for the rest of his life. Um, on September 13th, police were able to return to Jody's house with a search warrant to find evidence that would corroborate the 12-year-old's story. In one of the bedrooms, they found Ruby's journal. Apparently, journaling is a very big part of the Mormon faith. Well, inside the journal, police discovered Ruby had written down every single thing they had done to those children, and every single thing lined up with what that 12-year-old said had happened. Some of the notes included making them sleep outside when it was freezing, shaving the 9-year-old's head for no reason, dousing the 9-year-old in water, whipping the 12-year-old, putting his head in a toilet, tying him down with weights, keeping him handcuffed for hours at a time. Apparently, the boy escaped on July 15th in the middle of the night, but Ruby and Jody found him before he was able to make it to safety.
Ugh.
After that, after that escape, they started tying him down every day, including handcuffed his hands behind his back, handcuff his feet, and then tie them together and attach them to weights, essentially hog tying him to a set of weights. Ruby wrote things in her journal like, quote, I put my hand tightly over his nose and mouth. Quote, it needs to be painful. Quote, I will not feed a demon. She made multiple references to, quote, blood on his face. She repeatedly referred to the children as demons and spawns of Satan. She wrote, quote, I have the power of God and he must obey. And, quote, God sent me to help them repent. She called her children weak-minded, undisciplined brats. Ruby wrote everything she was doing was out of love to chase away the evil spirits. Now, I don't know if she was truly that delusional or if this was done in advance in case she would ever need an insanity plea
Mm.
later on, because I trust nothing. Um, Also, when police were searching the house, they found notes in Ruby's phone that said Ruby was frustrated about having to cater to Jody's needs for physical affection without getting any in return.
Well,
Interested
sounds to
what
me
that
like,
means.
yeah, exactly.
They also found a duffel bag with $80,000 cash in Jody's closet, which I don't know if that was fraud or if that just sounds like a go bag. Um, there was also a client book in Jody's office, which listed 46 clients that Jody was seeing at $1,000 a week.
No.
When Ruby first went to prison, she had frequent phone calls with Kevin. At first, she compared Jody to Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon religion, saying, quote, "Every wonderful man of God has been misunderstood." She blamed the devil for everything that was happening. Kevin told Ruby the children were in the hospital for 3 days. Ruby said that it was unnecessary. They were just exaggerating. She said, quote, "I don't know why they're in the hospital. They're perfectly fine." Honestly, it didn't take an expert to look at those children and know that they absolutely were not fine. So I have to wonder what sort of delusions Ruby was having or what sort of mental illness was at play. Either way, it doesn't excuse the things that she did to her own children. What she did was horrific, period. I'm just saying, because I want to figure out why it happened. A lot of people say Jody influenced Ruby into torturing her own children, um, because most of the physical abuse didn't start until after Jody entered their lives. I mean, there still was some levels of physical abuse with like whipping with a belt and stuff like that before Jody came in. So, I mean, it obviously wasn't all Jody. Um, but why did it escalate to the level that it did? What was Jody getting out of this? She was a mother herself. How was this not inexcusable to her? Well, there was more background on Jody that people found out later on. She wrote, I think, multiple books, but in 2020, she wrote a book that was called "You Are Not Enough."
Okay.
Yeah, I
Double
know.
negatives are
I hate it.
confusing.
Um, in the book, Jody talks about being sexually abused as a child. She claims from ages 2 to 5, she was abused by a 15-year-old neighbor. And then from ages 7 to 9, she was abused by a 16-year-old boy that her family had taken in. There was no reason given as to why that boy was brought into their home. Jody said she had completely forgotten about that abuse until she spoke to a counselor when she was 21, and it all came flooding back. I'm curious if she continued to speak to that counselor or any counselor after that, or if she just chose to shove it down to try and forget it. A therapist on the Evil Influencer documentary said Jody likely suffered severe PTSD from her childhood abuse, which later caused her to become out of touch with the reality that she was disassociating from. One way this can happen is by reenacting the trauma that you had suffered. While police were looking into Jody, they were contacted by Jessie Hildebrandt, who was previously Jody's niece. Jessie now uses they, them pronouns. According to Jessie, when they were a teenager, they lived with Jessie for just under a year in American Fork, Utah in 2009. Jessie said Jody came into their bedroom one morning and said, "You need to be reformed." They said they experienced severe emotional, spiritual, and psychological abuse. They said Jody duct taped their hands, tied them to the bed, forced them to sleep outside in the snow, and refused to let Jessie ever have a closed door. Um, Jessie says Jody became convinced that they were addicted to pornography, even though Jessie didn't know what that was at the time. When Jessie was 16, they went to the police to file a report. Shockingly, no one believed them. Jody told police Jessie was just an angry teen who became dangerous. They believed her, and the case was closed. So maybe that therapist was onto something when she said Jody might be repeating the trauma, because what happened to Jessie sounds a lot like what was happening to the youngest Franke children. And I mentioned Jody being a mother. Well, what happened to her children? The only thing I know is that her children are estranged from her, which is a great sign that Jody wasn't overly pleasant to them either.
Mm.
And since Jody has a history of physical abuse towards children, it's not a leap to suggest she may have influenced similar behavior in Ruby. But let me be clear. Uh, Prior to Jody entering the picture, there were clear signs of abuse with Ruby Franke. It seems the physical abuse was like later on, but still the physical abuse did occur. So while Jody may have been the one who caused the abuse to escalate, Ruby was still guilty of harming her children before Jody's influence ever came into play. So to me, Ruby Franke is absolutely not a victim here. Months after her arrest, Ruby made comments that she was starting to realize that Jody may have been lying to her and that she felt really gullible. So was she coming to her senses? Maybe, but she still deserves jail time for what she had allowed to happen. Jody, however, has taken a different path and states she's being set up. She claims she didn't do anything wrong. And she says all the injuries that happened to the 12-year-old, he did them to himself, which is wild to even try and pull that. And allegedly, Jody had purchased several acres of land in Arizona as well as 2 tractors with the plan to make the 2 young children work the land. So from physical abuse to straight up slavery.
Yep.
Thank God that 12-year-old managed to escape when he did, or those children likely would never have been seen again. Ruby and Jody were both charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse. They were offered a plea deal to plead guilty to 4 of the counts. Each count would involve jail time, but they'd avoid a trial. Both agreed to the deal. Ruby read a statement in court referring to herself as a mama duck who'd been dragged into a current. She blamed Jody for distorting her sense of morality and making her believe that dark was light and right was wrong. Jody also made a statement in which she refused to admit any wrongdoing and said she loved the Franke children and hopes they have a beautiful life. Both women were sentenced to up to 30 years in prison. The exact length of sentence will later be determined, of course, by the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole. Jody later said she didn't know why she was going to prison, but one day she realized the Book of Mormon speaks about spreading the gospel to many. It was then she realized in prison she could reach numerous people at once, so she decided prison was exactly where God wanted her to be.
Okay.
She then said there's no better example she could give than her going to prison unjustly.
Sure.
I know.
Sure.
Ruby and Jody are both incarcerated at the same prison, but they're held in different areas, so they have no interaction. I hope they're there for the rest of their lives. In March 2025, Jody attempted to challenge her conviction by filing a petition to withdraw her guilty verdict, claiming it was unlawful because her attorney allegedly didn't properly inform her of her rights. So much for right where God wants you to be, huh?
Yeah.
Her first parole hearing is set for December 2026. The rage I will feel if she actually pulls that off.
I know.
The rage. Jody's therapist, Jody's therapist license is currently frozen. If she's ever released, a licensing board will determine if she's allowed to continue as a certified therapist or not. If they do deny her, there is no regulation in Utah about life coaching.
Great.
So she could just go back to doing exactly what she was doing. So fingers crossed she just stays in prison for life. In early 2025, a former client sued Jody, Ruby, and Connections, alleging their services were fraudulent and that they encouraged clients to participate in child abuse. Also in 2025, Kevin Franke filed for restitution from Jody to help fund the treatment his children needed. He sued her again in April for negligence and causing intentional emotional harm to his children, and again in August, claiming Jody misrepresented herself as a psychologist while serving as his mental health counselor. Kevin is currently seeking a trial for that last one. and hoping for financial damages of over $300,000. What else has Kevin Franke been up to? Well, he says no matter what, he can't possibly hate Ruby despite all that's happened. Instead, he said they simply put their faith in the wrong person. Kevin was given full custody of the younger four children, and in November 2023, he officially filed for divorce. 3 months later, Kevin told People magazine, "Yeah, I'm considering getting back into dating." But he said he was a man of honor and therefore would wait until after the divorce was finalized. I kind of, to be honest, hoped he was more focused on his children's mental health than his dating life. But what do I know? I'm just a parent. The divorce was finalized in March 2025. In September, Kevin got engaged to a single mother of four. They were married in November.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
These are real heterosexual love stories.
The man that can't be
The
single
man,
because he doesn't know how to function without a woman telling him.
there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Kevin is currently an engineering consultant. He also has a YouTube channel where he posts videos about work. Interesting how he hated being filmed for 8 passengers, but now he's fully willing. It's almost like he suddenly realized he likes money. As of this record, he has roughly 32,000 subscribers. When it comes to the abuse that his children suffered, Kevin said, quote, "I was the last line of defense for these children, and I packed my bags and walked away. And I hope that that will haunt him every day for the rest of his life." Chad Franke, who is now 20 years old, is a social media influencer who got married in October 2025. Sherry Franke, who is 22, got engaged in December 2024 and said she has no plans to post further updates about her personal life. She is currently campaigning against family vlogging. Good for her. She no longer speaks to Ruby, but she did attend Kevin's wedding and seems genuinely happy for him to have moved on. During the 7 years that 8 Passengers existed, Ruby Franke posted over 1,300 videos of her family. Throughout the videos, there were countless examples of the excessive discipline and emotional abuse that occurred in the Franke home long before Jody Hildebrandt entered their lives. So at the end of it, I think Ruby, Jody, and Kevin all bear responsibility for what those children endured. Yes, there was manipulation, there was religious extremism, and maybe even some brainwashing, but all three of those adults failed those children. And while Kevin seems to have gotten off lightly and was just allowed to go on with his life like nothing happened, I hope he's thankful that he was never officially charged. He knew about the abuse, at least the emotional abuse in the beginning. He was even the person behind the camera for some of it. But even knowing that, he willingly walked away from his children for over a year. That feels like some level of neglect to me. I hope he spends the rest of his life trying to make it up to those kids. And honestly, I hope that everyone involved in this situation, especially all 6 children, are receiving excellent therapy. And I hope all of the children feel safe and loved. Lifetime released a movie based on this case in 2024. It's called Mormon Mom Gone Wrong, the Ruby Franke story. It stars Heather Locklear as Jody. It's shocking to me that despite not playing Amanda Woodward for nearly 30 years, that Heather Locklear is still being typecast as a bitch. I said what I said. Reporting for True Crime and Cocktails, I'm Christy Oxborrow.
What a gift in everybody's lives. Let's take a quick break, hit the can, grab a drink, and we'll be back to discuss our thoughts and feelings on the Ruby Franke episode of True Crime and Cocktails. All right, clap 2 on 3. 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to this episode of True Crime and Cocktails. We're of course discussing Ruby Franke. What a wild ride. I've seen these documentaries, so I knew this information, but or a lot of it, not all of it, but
Right.
it's It's such a terrible story.
Yeah.
It's such a terrible story. And thank God that it didn't end in further tragedy.
A
Because the thing
hundred
that
percent.
I kept thinking, I'm skipping ahead in my comments, but the thing I kept thinking as I was listening to you kind of getting into the demonic possession, believing the children were possessed and we had to get the demons out of them, I
Mhm.
started thinking about Lori Vallow and I
Mhm.
started thinking about Andrea Yates, of course, the woman who drowned all her children. There's a
Mhm.
documentary that just came out about her story. And I didn't realize because when that story first happened, we were young. And I remember hearing,
Yeah.
we all heard about it in the news. It's horrific. This mother drowned each of her children one at a time. Like, how crazy. What I didn't know was there was this element of religion and a cult or something that has been a group that has been described as a cult and these same kinds of themes. Lori Vallow, that one's another one where it's like these same kinds of themes of like, I'm saving these children or these children are possessed. And to be honest with you, there's times where I think, I think Andrea Yates, I believe it. I think that that was very much a reality for her, that she really believed that. I don't know. Lori Vallow, I don't know. I mean, we've all seen clips of the Keith Morrison interview where I was just like, she's being so glib and odd, and I don't know how much I buy or I don't buy. But with Ruby Franke, I don't know if I buy it. Quite honestly, I don't know if I buy that she really, to the core of her being, believed. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it because, again, to your point, the abuse started before she really got in over her head with Jody.
Yeah.
And there's just certain pieces of this where I'm like, I don't know that I believe that she was like out of her mind. I don't know that I believe like reason of insanity. I don't know that I believe that this was necessarily like a real, actual delusion.
Sure.
Andrea Yates, again, having just watched part of that documentary, I was like, oh yeah, no, this woman definitely really, it seems definitely really believed that she was, quote,
Right.
doing what was right, which is awful.
Right.
um but with this, I don't know, because again, it didn't start that way. It started that she
Right.
was she was exploiting these kids to make content,
Yeah.
and then it's like it feels like she liked it. Like it feels like there was some piece of it that she enjoyed, making the kids do things they didn't like to do or punishing the kids or whatever. And then it just feels like it
Right.
just escalated and she got into this toxic dynamic with Jody, which seems, given her comment about the physical needs of Jody,
Well, right? What
I
else
don't
could that
know.
possibly mean?
What else could that
Right?
possibly mean? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, but I've skipped way ahead. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and go through these really quick. Um, I just wrote down rubber chickens. Ha.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
you said Dutch oven. I just wrote down farts. Um,
What I'm hearing, the fun facts, appreciated.
oh, they're resonating because I'm not done, baby. This is genuine.
Yeah.
What I'm about to say is genuine. If, dear listeners, any of you are one of the people that eats lime jello with carrots in it,
Mhm.
I I am saying this without judgment. I'm not gonna yuck a yum. I'll try it. I'm not above it.
Sure.
I don't think that, I also don't think that that's that gross. I'm like, okay, but what I'd love is if you could comment and tell us what the recipe is. Like, is there something else that's missing? Is there a way that you do your jello with carrots? Like, I
Sure.
want to know what this is.
I'm curious, like I'm not so curious about the recipe. I want to know, how are you supposed to eat it? Is this like a side dish? Is this like a salad? Is this like a
Is this like an
I don't
alt
know.
to cranberry sauce at a Thanksgiving meal?
Interesting.
I'm not being glib. I
Interesting.
want to make that very clear. I'm being very serious. I would love to know because I've never heard of that. And I would love
Oh,
to
I
know
hadn't either.
what this is all about.
Yeah.
Genuine question. Um, you said something about a Mormon missionary mission, and I just wrote, who's going to give first? The Mormons calling it missionaries or the sex community? Because it feels funny that missionary is a word that means two such different things in some
Very
ways.
different. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
then I wrote down shark in the dating pool of life. Sometimes I just wrote down quotes.
I
You know this.
like that a lot.
Okay. Ruby's list of what she needs in a man. Likes yard work. Wild. At
Mhm.
least 5 inches taller. I don't know how tall she was, but you get up there, that might be getting to be a tougher
I don't
tougher
think he
one.
was 5 inches taller than her. I only seen a few photos of them. I think he's just like barely. She was
Um
what was missing from her list was willing. That should have been the only word she needed because
breathing, alive.
she was like, I just want to get married.
The one for me that stood out was on the list, it said praise every day. But
Yeah,
then it also said not that spiritual.
I included the two of those for a reason. Yeah. Isn't that weird?
It's really weird. It almost feels again like it's like I want someone who prays every day. Like I want someone who outwardly, like for all appearances, seems religious, but I don't want him to actually be religious. Like it feels
Oh,
like
I
this
could see
this
that.
woman was only about optics, which is so interesting because again, to your point that we were making earlier, it feels like she was rage baiting before rage bait was a thing.
Hmm.
Um, the fact that the only thing she wanted to do in life was have kids, that she literally got married at 18. First of all, she got married at 18 and started cranking out kids.
Hmm.
Frontal lobe brain has not finished developing.
Yep.
Um, I know that people have been having kids as teenagers since the beginning of time. I'm not saying that that's true of everybody. I think that this person maybe wasn't the right person to be having children that young. Feels like maybe she had some brain development to keep going with. But when her only goal in life was to get married and have kids, beautiful. It's interesting to me that she became so abusive. Like when your only want in life is to be a mother,
Yeah.
it's always fascinating to me when those mothers or parents are such monsters. Because it's like, why was that what you were setting out to do?
Oh, yeah. I just have to believe, and I'm not excusing it in any way. The only way I wrap my brain around is she was raised to you're going to get married, you're going to have kids. It's your
Right.
literal only purpose in life. And then she started having kids and went, this is hard. This kind of sucks. And some days it does. And it is hard. And I think some people are just like not born for it. They're just like, I just don't have this. I don't want to deal with kids. And I don't think she was ever given a choice. She was like, this is
Right.
automatically what you do. And then she got there and was like, this is a lot. And it's like, well, you were like every other year for like 6 kids in a row. You're going to be tired.
Yeah.
And he's
Well,
not probably helping a lot.
oh, he had to like yard work though. Um, the fact that she was like, oh, the kids didn't love making the videos. Yeah, when they're talking about puberty and all of those other topics, like again, to me, there's like, I feel like psychologist had on, there's an element to her that seems to delight in the literal and metaphorical discomfort of her own children. Like
Mm,
it feels like she was creating this video series where it's like, I actively want to embarrass them. And not in a way that parents like to like tease their kids and like, oh, I'm going to embarrass my kids or something. In a
yeah.
way that she's like, no, I want to
Humiliate
like
them.
humiliate my children. And I kind of like doing it. Because why else would she continue to do those things? And then it was just when she got brazen about talking about it. Taking away a kid's bedroom, making him sleep on the floor for 7 months is fucking wild. And the fact that, and I've obviously I've seen those clips, like I was saying, and like watching them talk about it, I'm like, I think she likes it.
Oh, she must, because again, she's the one who edits those videos.
Right.
If she even says in that clip, like, oh, well, the list, like our viewers don't really know about that. And she kind of laughs it off. And it's like, edit that out.
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell me she doesn't shoot for so much longer than
Hmm.
what she's actually putting up there. So it's like, edit it out.
And that's what I don't understand is that it's like, was it rage bait before rage bait was a thing? Was it that she was disconnected from how bad it came off? Was it that that was the way she was raised and so she thought that was normal?
Oh,
I don't know, but
could have
it's
also
again,
been she felt like there she could do no wrong.
Yeah.
Like everybody loves us. And, or she could be, he pissed me off. I want them to know he's not this boy that you think he is.
Well,
And
yeah,
so it's
great
like,
point.
look at this. You guys all are obsessed with him. I also can't begin to say if I was posting videos of my child and people on the internet, even if they were his own age, people on the internet commenting, like, oh my God, he's so handsome. He's so attractive. I want to marry him someday. I'm pulling videos of my child. I'm never posting them again. Not a chance.
No,
Like, it's the fact that she saw that and was like, well, that means we need more Chad.
I know.
That is not what that meant, Ruby.
No, no. The fact that they punish their kids by pulling them out of sports, weird.
Right?
Yeah. Every man has a porn addiction, according to Jody. And I just wrote, is this her projecting her own divorce? Then I forgot about her childhood abuse. And it's like it
Mm.
feels like she just has a belief that could be, rooted in trauma, that it's like all men are obsessed with sex. All of, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I also
sure.
feel like the fact that she's like children aren't supposed to have privacy, like taking the doors off of bedrooms and stuff, is just her being like, I was molested behind closed doors, so I'm trying to protect kids by not allowing them to be behind closed doors. I could believe that her twisted mind make that, her
Oh,
traumatized brain made that connection.
I just assumed that in her mind, because every man is addicted to porn, I just assumed she was thinking if anybody's behind a closed door, they're just automatically jerking off.
Or abusing a child.
I assume. Yeah. I think if when she's like, kids can't have a door closed, that she's like, I can't begin to think of what that child is doing in there.
Mm,
And it's like, let them have their own space.
yeah. I think I'm just speaking more of in like maybe I'm giving her too much credit that it was like that's how she may say that it's because what are those kids doing in there? But I think that the
Sure.
actual root is the fact that she was abused behind a
Oh,
door.
it absolutely could be.
Of course, we'll never know. Um, then I wrote, wait, were Jody and Ruby boinking? I just wanted to say boinking.
Good for
Um,
you. Yeah.
the story about the 8 and 10-year-olds getting nothing for Christmas
I know.
is so horrifying. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not negating the horrors of the physical abuse and everything else, but there's just something that's like these poor children, those poor fucking children. Yeah, I pray that they're in intense counseling. I just feel like you fuck them up so hard with all of
Yes.
it. Gordon Hinckley, never thought I'd agree with him with a Mormon on much, but here we are. I thought what he said was wonderful.
Right? I
Yeah,
just needed, again, I said it then, I say it now. I just want to make sure that they know I'm not saying this is everybody who follows that religion. It was,
of
here's
course.
what this religion has had to say. Here is how these Delulus took it. They took
Oh, and
it
listen,
and took it to another level that they never should have.
every religion, literally every
You're
religion,
right. You're
has
right.
people that give that religion a bad name. It's unfortunate. Um, Jody had a vision Kevin had to leave, and then they invited him to leave. The I invite you to invite me to invite you. I'm inviting.
I
Where's my
know.
invitation? I'm not going to RSVP. But they invited him to leave. He said okay, and was willing to do whatever she wanted to try and avoid a divorce. What I just wrote down was, wow, Kevin really likes being a cuck.
It's just wild to me
I
how
have
desperate he was to marry her, having barely known her. Like it was the moment, like, and one might take that as a beautiful thing, but it's like you did not know this girl. You were like, this girl's paying attention to me. Okay, okay, then we should lock her down. And then she's like, I don't know you, but you'll get married. Let's do this. So it's like, did they like each other at all?
well, it sounds like they didn't know each other at all.
And I don't know if that ever changed.
That's what I mean. Like I don't know that they ever got close. And I think I stand by calling him a cuck and I don't feel bad about it because to me there's absolutely I cannot respect anybody of any gender that's like, well, I didn't want to go through a divorce or I didn't want to lose this person, so I was willing to do anything, including just abandon my children and not talk to them for a year.
I know.
Fuck you, dude. Like the fact that at that point, this man didn't go, this feels off. My wife is
Right?
sleeping in a room with our therapist with candles and massage oils everywhere. I'm not allowed to go up there. Now they're telling me I need to go away for a year and not speak to them or my kids. Guess I'm just going to do it. Fuck off,
Right?
man. You're just as culpable. I think in many ways, you're right. He's lucky that he didn't get charged with some sort of accessory or negligence or something because, yeah, I didn't. And I remember watching the documentary seething when he was like, well, I didn't know what was going on. Yeah, whose fault is that? Your
Yeah.
own.
Yeah, he definitely tried to make it like, I mean, it's like how he was like, "Oh, I didn't like I was uncomfortable in front of the camera," says the guy who now has a YouTube channel of his own.
Yeah.
Which also, after something like this, you go out of the public eye. You take a step back. You stop putting yourself out there, maybe.
Well,
Um,
yeah, it makes it seem like maybe he and Ruby were a great match.
100%. And it's just the whole idea that he's like, well, I mean, it's not my fault. I wasn't there. Like, she told me to leave. And it's like, but you willingly left those children.
You have an obligation to the children, period.
100%.
Period. I don't give a shit. I just wrote down in all caps, Kevin is a problem. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mhm. The two women sang hymns in the police car. I wrote down this is the evil bizarro version of us. Because I do feel like there's a world in which if for some reason we got arrested and we're in a car, a police car, I could see us singing, but it would likely be boy band songs. Um,
You're not wrong.
right. But we would be getting arrested because we did something for good. You know what I mean? Like we protested
Of
or we did something that would
course.
be a good reason for us, unlike these two monsters. Um, the fucking details of that search warrant and finding her journal and that it says it corroborates everything that the
Everything.
child said. It
Yep.
I remember again, it's so dark. The quotes, like it's like it has to hurt, it needs to be painful, all of that shit. This is why I'm like, I just don't know that I buy it. Like, of course, there's some level of some kind of mental illness going on, of course, but I just don't know that I buy that it was like she was brainwashed. Like, I'm like, was she or was she indulging in it? Because it's pretty fucking extreme, the shit they were doing.
I think for me, what throws me is when she showed up at the house when the cops were there and she
Yeah.
just like sat there, no words, just sat there. And they're like, if you really believed that these children were possessed by demons and you were helping them, why on earth weren't you like frantic to those cops being like, "Oh my God, these children, you have no idea." Like, why weren't you that? The silence to me felt very, well, we're not coming back from this. Like
Yeah.
it felt very like, ah, yeah,
It felt to
yeah,
me
we're
like I
caught.
was like, this is a woman who's consumed true crime and knows to shut up. That's how it felt to me, is that I was like, oh, she just
Oh,
watches Dateline and knows that it's like, don't say anything. You have the right to remain silent.
that's a good point.
Yeah, to me, I agree. It did not speak to mental illness or it did not speak to delusion. It spoke to me where it was like calculated.
Oh, she
Like
couldn't have been
I
more clear in that
yeah.
moment. Yeah.
Final thoughts. Uh Kevin saying he can't hate Ruby. And that just also reminds me of Rusty Yates, of course, the husband of Andrea Yates, who drowned all
Mm.
those children, who had the same kind of. It's interesting to me that these two men had that similar kind of thing where it's like, I just don't believe personally,
Mm.
because I'm also someone who believes in holding a grudge.
Oh, from from birth to grave, like 100%. If a doctor pissed me off, taking me out, I'm gonna be pissed off at him till the day that I die.
Yes.
Is a newborn baby gonna know that they've done something to piss you off? I don't know. Am I secretly deep down angry at the doctor who maybe smacked me so that I cried for the first time? Maybe. I'd have to work that through in therapy. I don't know. The point is grudges.
Grudges.
Once you start, that's it.
Yeah. And
Good
again,
luck.
I have to find the clip that I saw of the therapist who was basically like, I hold grudges and I feel great about it. But the whole point is that it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can move through the feelings so that it's not overrunning your life. But this
Yeah.
concept that it's like we have to forgive, like that's whatever. It's like no, 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 no. I don't ever need to forgive the person that treated me horribly.
No.
I don't ever need to, and I can sleep well at night,
You can
going,
hold
I
the
don't want that person in
grudge.
my life.
Yeah.
I feel
You
good,
you can hold on to that and still feel light about it.
100%.
Be
It
like,
doesn't
I've
have to
let
ruin
go
your
of the
life.
anger, but
Yep.
I that person has wronged me and that's it.
And I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say, I question any human that's like, I can't be mad at my wife who badly abused my kids. I can't be mad at my
Oh.
wife who drowned all our children. I'll ultimately, I forgive her. I can't be mad at her. I think that's twisted. I think that's like toxic positivity. That's like toxic forgiveness. Like, I don't
Mm.
think that in life we need to forgive people who murder our shared child. I think it's okay to say,
Oh.
I've processed it. I'm at peace with it, and I don't wish that person well. I just
Oh
that's
yeah.
my 2 cents. I just don't know what, like, I feel like there's such this weird societal pressure, this whole concept of like, but you need to forgive. You need to get over it. Why is that onus coming onto me? And metaphorically, like as an example, right? Like, why is it on the
100%.
person? Like, so let me get this straight. I get hurt. You hurt me. You wronged me. You whatever hurt my children in this fantasy scenario, and then it's
Sure.
also on me to process and move through it and forgive the person. And what the fuck? No way.
No.
Take a little off the plate. And to me, it's take the forgiveness off the plate. Process the anger, move through it, but I don't think you ever need to forgive somebody, especially somebody who's murdered or deeply hurt your children.
A
Sorry.
100%. 100%.
But then
There,
again,
like, there's not a world that someone would harm my child and I'd be like, but I can't be mad at them.
I've
I
found
can be.
forgiveness. No.
I can be. I'll actually find new levels of anger
Yeah.
that
I
nobody knew existed.
again, I'm the person who on Bean's little name tag, it says her name, it says the phone number, and then it says hurt her and I will end you. That's what it says. I'm not kidding. I feel great about it.
It really sends a message.
Yep.
It sends a message.
It's what the message is. Not this one. Not
Oh, sure.
not worth our time.
Yeah.
Not worth our time.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
If she ever needs another caller, consider, you ever seen John Wick?
I can't be drinking during this show because you're gonna make me spit it out my nose.
Look,
That
I'm not
is
trying to be on fire tonight.
incredible.
It's just happening.
It's magic. Well, listen, Christy Oxborrow, fantastic work as always. This was
Oh,
absolutely a roller coaster, um, a marathon in the best way. 12 out of 10 as always. You never cease to
oh,
impress.
well, I mean, look, it was an honor. Do I want to do any cases that involve children like this? No,
Nope, we don't like it.
no. So that's why we get unhinged throughout.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
And we thank you, dear listeners, for joining us for this episode. If you haven't already, give us a follow on the socials on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at True Crime and Cocktails, on Twitter at Not Detectives. If you'd like that bonus content, patreon.com/True Crime and Cocktails to learn more over there. And of course, the only place for official True Crime and Cocktails merch is, of course, truecrewmerch.com. So check that out as well if you're interested. And if you're in the UK, if you're in Glasgow, Birmingham, Manchester, London, get your tickets. LaurenAsh.band. These are legitimately selling very well. Glasgow is almost completely sold out. We've had to upgrade the venue. So if you're on the fence, get those tickets. Come out and party with us. It's going to be a time. Christy, do you want to tell the people about next week's episode?
On the next True Crime and Cocktails, Trophy Wife, Murder on Safari.
I do not know this story, and God, I can't wait just based on the title. Christy, do you want to say goodnight to the people?
Oh, good night, stupid Canadian wolf bird.
Good night, Ilya Rozanov. I'm coming to the cottage.